Thursday, July 23. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Carol Francis. As of Thursday morning, the number of COVID-19 cases in Jamaica stands at 816. This increase comes as 6 new cases were confirmed positive in the last 24 hours. Over the same period, Jamaica recorded 1 more recovery, bringing the total number of persons recovered and released from care to 710. 5 imported cases and 1 import-related case, contact of an imported case, makes up the 6 new cases. The number includes 5 females and 1 male, ranging in age from 18 to 60 years. 3 are Jamaicans with addresses of residence in Kingston and St. Andrew, Clarendon, and Manchester. The other 3 are non-Jamaicans staying in Kingston and St. Andrew, St. James, and St. Anne. There are now 64 active cases under observation in Jamaica. 32 cases have repatriated to their countries of origin. There are 2 moderately ill patients, but none who are critically ill at this time. The island's public education system is to be reviewed and retooled. The Educational Transformational Commission was launched on Wednesday at Jamaica House. Melvin Pennant has that story.
The new Commission on Education Transformation will be responsible for conducting a comprehensive review and assessment of Jamaica's education system, including its structure and operations. The Commission will also recommend actions for change. Education Minister Carl Samuda welcomed the review.
The last major review of our educational system was done 16 years ago in 2004. A lot has changed in the last 16 years. The last 4 months, ladies and gentlemen, have brought about significant changes in how we engage and teach our children. Despite the challenges, COVID-19 has given us an opportunity to rethink and reassess the public education system. We are now actively implementing strategies that would have been unthinkable even 6 months ago. As I speak, we are finalizing preparations for the beginning of the 2020-21 school year. We have adopted a blended approach. So in September, our students will receive instructions both face-to-face and via distance and online teaching.
Opposition spokesman on education, Peter Bunting, had several recommendations. He admitted that the sector stood in need of change.
The Ministry of Education has become an over-centralized bureaucracy that is inefficient and disempowering for school leadership. I'm not pointing fingers at my friend Carl, because this is something that has been there for across administrations. The technology and infrastructure used in most classrooms are both inadequate and inappropriate. There's no other institution that you could go into today that resembles so closely what it did half a century ago as our classrooms in Jamaica.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness said the transformation of education was crucial if Jamaica is to take advantage of the digital age and 4th industrial revolution.
Many Jamaicans have bought into the power of technology. Some consider themselves tech-savvy. You know, Minister Samuda is a tech-savvy minister. Believe me, he is. But this is not enough. We need to make the mental shift from merely being users of technology to becoming developers and creators of technology.
The commission will be headed by Professor Orlando Patterson.
Education, as the Prime Minister emphasized and as several other speakers have emphasized, is absolutely key. All economists have now converged on this one point, that the single most important factor explaining development, explaining successful change, is education. And the signs of it, the evidence of it is all around us.
Melvin Pennant, PBCJ News.
School administrators are being advised that the cost of registration packages at the secondary level should be no more than $5,000. That's the word from the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information. The ministry, in a recent bulletin, further stipulated that there be no increase in parent contribution for the academic year 2020-2021. The ministry is also advising that there is no cost for registration at the primary level. The ministry adds that non-payment of fees cannot affect acceptance of school placement or registration to school. Managing Director of the Sugar Company of Jamaica, SCJ Holdings, Joseph Shoucair, has admitted that the entity blundered in its handling of the Holland Producers Limited HPL for 2,400 acres of land at Holland Estate in St. Elizabeth. Mr. Shoucair made the admission while facing questions at the Public Administration and Appropriations Committee, PAAC, on Wednesday.
Let me start off by saying I have to agree with you that a lease should have been in place at an earlier date. No question. It puts a number of issues beyond dispute. We wouldn't be having this discussion if there was a document in place. What I say to you is an assessment has to be made between certainly AIC, HPL, and ourselves as what would be a reasonable cost for the occupation of the lands for the 1-year period. Now, why I look to these numbers here, because this may end up telling you what is the financial position of HPL. It may be an insolvent company.
The committee was probing the details of the land divestment arrangement that ended in controversy and J.C. Hutchinson being relieved of his duties in the Agriculture Ministry. He has been reassigned to the Office of the Prime Minister. Mr. Shoucair also clarified the due diligence period for the lease arrangement with HPL.
You told us, not just me, that you understood it, that the possession date would be retroactive. The lease commencement date would be retroactive to the possession date. You had that understanding, but you never knew if the other party had that understanding.
But remember, we had a discussion before, you know. I had a meeting.
Oh, so it was expressed in the discussion.
I had a meeting with these people. Remember, I refused to agree to any moratorium. I refused even to agree to a 1-year period.
To a what? Sorry?
To a 1-year period.
Okay.
What I agreed in writing was early possession pending formal lease agreement.
Minister of Justice Delroy Chuck says the ministry agrees with strengthening the investigative powers and capabilities of INDECOM. Speaking in Parliament this week, he said the move will see the amendment of the Independent Commission of Investigations Act 2010.
The decision, Minister Chuck says, is premised on the Privy Council ruling in May this year, which upheld the appeal court's ruling that INDECOM does not have the power to arrest, charge, or prosecute police officers. The Justice Minister says his team plans to expand the functions of INDECOM to facilitate the sharing of information with other parties such as government agencies, special coroners, commissions of inquiries, and security forces.
It is also proposed to, amongst other things, 1, expand the functions of INDECOM to facilitate the sharing of information with other parties such as government agencies, special coroners, commission of inquiries, and the security forces. This amendment, Mr. Speaker, is necessary as the Privy Council, in its decision of May 2020, ruled that INDECOM could not share material gathered in its investigation with any other party. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, Section 28 will be amended to allow INDECOM to share appropriate information.
Section 28 of the Act will be amended to expressly compel members of the security forces or specified officials to serve notices.
Section 21 of the Act will be amended to expand the provision for delegation to allow the Commission to delegate to any person the performance of its functions, excluding a member of the security forces or specified official, and that such delegation shall not preclude the performance of that function of the Commission. Fifthly, Mr. Speaker, the Privy Council's decision noted that INDECOM is a quasi-corporation. So, Mr. Speaker, it is intended to amend the Act in support of the recommendation included in the report of the Joint Select Committee to give INDECOM a body corporate status.
Minister Chuck says these recommendations, plus others in the report, will be introduced in a bill to amend the INDECOM Act, and drafting instructions will accordingly be provided to OPC at the close of the debate and after further consideration by Cabinet. Simone Absalom for the news on PBCJ.
Family and friends of missing University of the West Indies student Jasmine Dean are demanding answers from the police. They staged a peaceful demonstration in Bull Bay recently. Miss Dean, a first-year student, visually impaired, was last seen on February 27 of this year in Papine, St. Andrew.
We not take this easy because we can't even rest all now. We can't even sleep. Every day we wish back the little girl, warm to the little girl. So, we are asked anyone who knows of anything. And we ask the close family member of the person them were in custody. Don't hide nothing. Come up with it, because if a son is a thief, you can't get there and get the judgment where your son will get. You have to come up and tell the public, because we're not going to do anybody nothing. Jasmine we want, and anybody can come up, them will get a reward. And we just asking everyone who know nothing, please come up, call Crime Stop, call anyone and make them know. You don't have to give your name, you don't have to do nothing. But we are asked anyone who knows of anything, please come up and give some information, make we can have a closure with this case.
2 persons of interest were arrested and charged in April in relation to the missing student. 40-year-old Tamar Henry, otherwise called Braff and Lavish of Bull Bay in St. Andrew, and 36-year-old Gregor Wright, otherwise called G, are charged with the offenses of possession of identity information, 8 counts of unauthorized access to computer data, and simple larceny. Henry was also charged with the offense of possession of identity information and breaches of the Dangerous Drugs Act. Both remain in custody pending court appearances as the missing person investigation continues.
Another thing is, based on information, there are other persons that are to be named as persons of interest. Those persons were related to the police. That has not yet been take place. Another concern that we have as a community is that while we understand that the Mona police have the case, being that one of the persons that has been apprehended is from the community, then we want our local police to be a part of the search and rescue, to be a part of the team.
On Thursday morning, Prime Minister Andrew Holness handed over several trucks to the National Solid Waste Management Authority, NSWMA.
20 trucks were handed over to the National Solid Waste Management Authority on Thursday, July 23. The trucks will ease the persistent issues of infrequent garbage collection in some communities.
Today, as an entity, we are overjoyed to be welcoming 20 more and having bold their new trucks to our fleet, as the lack of reliable trucks has been one of the biggest challenges that we face as an entity. And irrespective of how important any other sector think they are, if you stop garbage collection, you see who is really important in this country. So Vision 2030 cannot happen without us, and because of that, we're really overjoyed for another 20 trucks. Reliable trucks, of course, helps to maintain reliable schedules. And what you are seeing here today is a revolutionary thrust from the government of Jamaica, and our minister has been at the forefront to maintain a rolling stock level that will over time result in a cleaner Jamaica. Minister Mackenzie, I want to personally thank you for your support from day one, when you told me that one of your first priorities is that even if we don't have any money, we'll go get some new trucks. And you have fulfilled on that, because that was essential for us to get proper garbage collection, or as much as we could, right? Because we still have a long way to go. Between 2016 to 2020, we received 63 new trucks. That is a record. Now, in any country, right? That's a record. And the cost of it is $357 million.
As I said in Parliament on Tuesday, this is not a part of the 100 trucks. That is to come in the next term. because that process will take some time to get us there. So these 20 trucks will take the organization in a better place. Each parish will receive one truck. And we're a parish as a city, and you know that there are only 2 parishes with cities, that is Montego Bay and Kingston. They will get an additional truck. So that will account for 16 of the 20 trucks. Then we look at the populated areas in Jamaica where the demand for garbage collection is great. And Portmore represents a large constituency of Jamaicans. So Portmore will get an additional truck. So St. Catherine will have one more, which would take care of Portmore. And when we look in the middle of the island, Clarendon, Longville Park Housing Scheme, Mineral Heights Housing Scheme, that is a dense population of Jamaicans, and that community will get an additional 1 truck. And the 2 remaining trucks will complement the work of the organization dealing with commercial collections right across the country.
The units, which were manufactured in China and purchased by Tankweld Metals, will be used to boost garbage collections across the island. It is hoped the improved efficiency will reduce illegal dumping and dumping of garbage in gullies.
We're the only government to have taken the progressive and decisive steps on banning plastics. You know, I decided that this is something that we should do. Very important that we do it. When early in the term, Hurricane Matthew had threatened us, and indeed it had caused some serious showers. And I went to tour a gully near my constituency. And I was not just embarrassed, I was ashamed as a Jamaican. Ashamed to see the plastic bottles and plastic bags that were just being washed down from all the communities that would have fed into that gully, going to end up in the sea. But the immediate threat was that it would block the culvert and cause flooding along the Marcus Garvey Drive area. I was embarrassed. We had some international media with us. And I won't tell you what I did, but we averted that being carried. Because that is not the vision that we want people to have of Jamaica. That's not the image.
For the news on PBCJ, I'm Marlon Samuels.
Time now for a look at the financial market shifts and trends. Gabrielle Thompson takes us through the business report.
According to the latest ex-refinery costs from Petrojam, motorists should see a decrease at the pumps in the prices of gasoline and an increase in the price of diesel, effective Thursday, July 23. 87 and 90 octane gasoline will be sold for $114.04 and $116.87 per litre, respectively, down by 8 cents each. Automotive diesel fuel will be sold for $114.41 per litre, following an increase of $1.67, while ultra-low sulfur is up by $1.72 and will be sold for $117.25 per litre. Meanwhile, kerosene increased in price by $1.57 and will be sold for $90.51 per litre. Propane liquid petroleum will be sold for $47.85 per litre, up by 93 cents, and butane liquid petroleum will be sold for $49.47 per litre after an increase of $1.23. Marketing companies and retailers will add their respective markup to these prices. In Wednesday's trading session, the JSE Combined Index declined by 372 points to close at under 400,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 74 stocks, of which 37 advanced, 26 declined, and 11 traded firm. The junior market index advanced by 43 points to close at under 3,000 units. Stocks advanced for 138 Student Living Jamaica, AMG Packaging and Paper Company, and Caribbean Assurance Brokers Limited. Stocks declined for 1834 Investments, Barita Investments, and CAC 2000 Limited. Trading firm were Cargo Handlers Limited, Cabreras Limited, and Siboney Group Limited. First Rock Capital Holdings Limited was the volume leader with 1.2 million units, followed by Pulse Investments Limited with 1.1 million units, and Supreme Ventures Limited with just over 1 million units. Now for the foreign exchange. The US dollar on Wednesday, July 22 ended trading at $145.94. The Canadian dollar sold for an average $111.22. The pound sterling traded for $187.57, and the euro ended trading at $167.97. Oil prices edged lower on Thursday as a weaker dollar, which usually boosts oil prices, was outweighed by concerns about rising U.S. oil inventories and surging coronavirus cases. Brent crude futures fell 9 cents to settle at $44.20 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate crude futures lost 5 cents to settle at $41.85 a barrel. And that's it for the business report on PBCJ. I'm Gabrielle Thompson.
Simone Absalom trekked to the Macau for an entertaining and delicious evening in this week's Culinary Trails.
When I think about the bar at Macau, I think about some great food, like the delicious creamy pastas they have, their burgers, their loaded fries. It's the perfect place to hang out with your friends, to take your wife on a night on the town, to have a girls' night out or a boys' night out. Come on and experience their fantastic customer service with me.
Girls, I think we should get the chicken mozzarella sticks, that bam, and chicken quesadillas. So, wanna agree? That bam. But I think we should move to the next table, right?
Everyone, I'm hanging with Julia Brass for a bit. She is a manager here at Macau's. Thanks so very much for agreeing to speak with me. I want to know more about the bar at Macau's. First of all, for those of us who haven't been here yet, what kind of restaurant is it?
First off, it's a bar really, right, where we serve food. So, however, it has grown to a much bigger concept than that, as our patronage have grown over the years, and people seem to really love the ambiance.
So what kind of food do you serve?
A variety of meals. We have pastas, we have steak, we have ribs, we have burgers, we have the infamous loaded fries. So it's a variety.
What kind of customer experience can we expect
when we come to the bar at Macau? First of all, you're going to be greeted at the door by one of our greeters or servers, and you're going to be, of course, ushered to a table, depending on your group. And then, of course, there is our food and our drinks. So, you know, our meals are very good, they're affordable, as well as very tasty meals. So that's majority of our feedback when we look on our social media pages. Okay, so we're open 7 days a week. However, because of this whole COVID situation, we have had to adjust and change our opening hours. So right now, we are open at 11 in the gaming lounge, and we can facilitate takeout orders between 11 and 1. The bar upstairs is open at 1 o'clock to the public for you to come in if you want to have lunch and dine until 10. However, the kitchen is closed at 9 every night. We have managed so far to bring back some of our staff in, and of course we've had to implement the health protocols, ensure that there's sanitization, and we have that set up, ensure that our customers are wearing their mask when they come into the restaurant, and as well as, you know, just making sure that we follow the government's guidelines.
Time! Food is served already.
In regional news, Barbados is now under hurricane watch, bracing for a possible threat from tropical storm Gonzalo.
A hurricane watch is now in effect for Barbados as Gonzalo storms towards the southern Windward Islands. According to the Barbados Met Service, sustained storm force winds are expected to spread across Barbados early Saturday and increase to hurricane force by Saturday afternoon. During that time, sustained 50 to 75 mile-per-hour winds with higher gusts are expected to affect the island. The system is also expected to generate rough to very rough sea swells and flash flooding in the coming days. In her address to the nation last night, Prime Minister Mia Mottley urged residents to be prepared for the coming storm. She said the Ministry of Public Works and other ministries spent yesterday doing the assessments and making adjustments. Prime Minister Mottley said instead of cabinet meeting this morning, those agencies will meet again to discuss Gonzalo.
In every house, we know what? Be prepared rather than be sorry. And I ask you, therefore, without panic, to be able to ensure that you are ready for this storm, because no storm is a good storm.
In sports, President of the Jamaica Football Federation, JFF, Michael Ricketts, says his administration is ready to deal with whatever is decided as it relates to the qualification format for the 2022 FIFA World Cup. Changes to the World Cup qualifying format is expected to be determined next Monday, July 27. Mr. Ricketts says the approval of new dates and format for the regional World Cup qualifying tournament are on the agenda. The qualifiers, which were originally set to begin in September, were postponed by FIFA because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Changes to Gold Cup qualifying, which was also suspended because of the pandemic, will also be decided at the meeting. Jamaica would have qualified for the final round under the original format, having been ranked in the top 6 in the region by the June deadline. And that's our package. Join us again tomorrow, same time, same place, for more news and sports right here on PBCJ, the People's Station.